Hello and welcome back. I am Mistress Ma Nurture. I am a Conscious-Kink educator, alternative lifestyle coach, and I am a sex worker advocate and activist. And what we're working with today, and the series that I'm working on here, is talking about one of the variations on cuckolding that includes what is referred to as BBC, right? And that is referring to the anatomy on the body of a black man, right? And the reason why I need to do a series here is that there's really a lot to be aware of, and there's a lot of consciousness that needs to be there in order for this particular kink to be played out in such a way that it does not cause harm. Okay? And that's where Conscious-Kink comes into play, right? And make no mistake, it can hurt. It can hurt, but causing harm is where we really want to be aware, and that's not what kink is about, right? Today I want to talk a little bit about trauma and kink. And first, I want to dispel the myth that everybody who's kinky has a traumatic childhood. That's not true. However, there is a fair amount, and I would say, and honestly, I like to know statistically before I spout anything off, but I would bet that if we looked at the demographic of human beings, right, across cultures, and we looked at the percentage of those who were traumatized as children, and then we looked at the same demographic of people involved in kink who identify as kinky, I believe we would find a pretty similar distribution, right? That say 20% of the population has trauma, that about on par with the whole population of kinky people. Does that make sense? And I would encourage anybody who hears this to do the research and check my facts on that. But here's the thing, is that what is really cool about trauma and kink when they do come together is that there's this transformation that occurs. Because when you enter into a kink situation, relationship, dynamic, when it's done consciously, when it's done well, there is an enormous amount of negotiation. The power dynamic is clear. The safety is put in place, and then the experience is transformed from painful and confusing and traumatic to pleasurable and potent and powerful, right? And that takes the power out of the hands of the offender and puts it into the hands of the survivor. And through playing it out under the circumstances in which you actually have the ability to leave, you have the ability to stop the scene, you have the ability to change it, right? That is where the healing comes through, and you get to experience the the actual scene that may look a lot like your trauma in your past, but it might look like it, but it's not it. And you survived the past, you're surviving the present, and you are stronger for it, right? And this is what I'm describing is really something that occurs between pretty experienced players. At least the leader in the dynamic needs to have a fair amount of experience in order to have a scene actually have some catharsis or some healing involved in it, okay? And why am I talking about this in the series on BBC and cuckolding? Well, I'm from the United States, and I can say that here in the United States, we have a traumatic past. We have a traumatic past as white people and black people. There has been a enormous inequality of power. There has been enormous exploitation, and there has been enormous harm done. So this is the traumatic past of our racial inequality in the United States. Okay. So that needs to be acknowledged. You can't turn your back on it and then have interracial play, because just like over the knee spanking scene does not exist in a vacuum where your trauma never happened, right? You cannot bring interracial play into a scene or into a dynamic if you are not aware of the harm that has been done in the past. Now you can, and people do all the time, but when we're talking about conscious kink, we have to be aware of the trauma so that we can treat it with respect. Okay? So what the next video is going to be is kind of the difference between fetishizing race and race play, right? And when we're playing with cuckolding and race, there's a danger of being so fetish focused that you lose touch with the humanity, right? Whether it's the focus of the bull being the dominant, who forgets that really he's playing a role within a couple, right? And that can be forgotten and harm can be done. On the other side of it can be done. Harm can be done when you are not respecting the fact that the owner of that BBC is a human being as well, right? And harm can be done if we're not conscious of the difference between fetish and stereotype. When we are unconscious and believe that the stereotypes that inform the fetish are actual fact, right? That is harm done. So we need to, and I said this in the last video, I'm not down with just shutting stuff down, saying it's bad, don't do it. I am very much a proponent of saying, let's be aware. Let's see it for what it is, and then let's play, right? Let's play with it, but don't ignore, don't pretend. It's life, kink, sex, power dynamic, all of that happens within the context within which you live. It's not a separate bubble. Even fantasy exists within the fuller context of experience, of the human experience. And so please bring that awareness into your play. Understand that we need to be aware of the trauma that is informing our play. Okay, until next time, I want you to have lots and lots of fun. Enjoy your pleasure. Enjoy your desire. And bring as much consciousness and awareness as you possibly can. It just gets better. Mwah. Until next time, subscribe, like the video, click the corner button, and you can arrange a session. We can do a one-on-one over the phone. All right, take good care, and I will see y'all soon.